we can say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Welcome to Brainstorm.
We have the explicit tag for a reason.
This is a base level argument to a higher level of morality.
I get paid to science?
To science as much as one can science.
What the hell was my point?
Trigger warning. The Brainstorm podcast will criticize your most cherished beliefs. We attack nonsense in all its forms and discuss difficult subjects. If you peddle pseudoscience, supernatural woo, or religious dogma, then this is not your safe place. This is the home of hardcore skepticism.
So to those listening live or to our patrons, welcome back. For those listening weekly, welcome to the Shift to Reason Radio, the Brainstorm production that tries to educate and inform. We'll take current events and important skeptical topics and try to analyze them critically. Remember, we're
Try
live.
being the operative word.
Yes.
We're live on Spreaker every second Friday, and today is March 17th, 2017. I'm still joined by Lisa,
Hey!
Angela,
Hello.
and the amazing Dave.
Amazing.
That was brilliant.
That was good.
So we had a bit that we were supposed to talk about, but half the crew bailed. So
Only the shitty members of the crew.
The good ones are still here.
All the men, coincidentally.
so we're going to skip this conversation that we had booked on the gender wage gap until we're going to do it next time.
They couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
No.
They were
And-
scared because both me and Angela were coming, and we were like,
Yeah.
The real power duo was
came-
coming.
Touching our
we
elbows
brought our
in the
salty,
back.
sweaty balls, and we were just like, oh no.
You even
Yeah.
brought salty balls to
We did.
to sedate them a bit.
Angela brought truffles, to be clear,
Chocolate truffles.
with salt on them, and they are sweating in this warm studio.
So let's get
are.
into the Woo Report.
Woo!
I'm not a scientist, but if I can tell you your science sucks, then your science really sucks.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck.
Fuck indeed. So
Pure Shakespeare on this podcast.
yeah.
It's fucking poetry and podcast.
So according to the National Post, gluten-free diets adopted by a rising number of consumers actually enhance risk of type 2 diabetes, according to a Harvard study. Yeah.
I mean, there's other evidence that a gluten-free diet's not that healthy. If you're celiac, a gluten-free diet is a very healthy, good idea because you cannot process gluten.
Yeah,
but
that's
if you're
right.
not part of that 1% of people, then a gluten-free diet is not helpful. For example, because you end up not getting as much fiber as you could
right.
otherwise get. As
Yes,
an example,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. According to this study,
Do we have a fart sound effect?
No, we don't.
No. We can make one.
Well done.
I just made one.
Thank
This
you.
Harvard study was based on 30 years of medical data from 200,000 patients.
Oh, wow.
That's a good
So-
sample size.
Yeah, that's pretty good. They found that most participants had gluten intake of less than 12 grams per day of gluten. And they, at the high end of this intake, showed a 13% lower risk in developing type 2 diabetes compared to those at the low end. So, and some of those at the low end were eating just 4 grams of gluten a day.
Wow. That's not very much.
I don't even think it's necessarily the gluten itself that's resulting in better health outcomes. It's this other stuff that comes with it, whole wheat bread or whatever. I mean, when you look at these gluten-free things, it tends to be like super high processed, very starchy, sort of very refined.
Yeah, they actually have to
replacements.
take a lot of the nutrients out of them, eh?
Well, and they
Yeah,
put
it's
so
very
much
processed.
sugar in there to compensate, like to make it taste better. If people are just eating gluten-free shit, it's so bad.
And
Apparently it is the worst, yeah.
It doesn't work because it tastes awful.
Yeah.
The bread is terrible.
Yeah, I've very rarely had a gluten-free product that I've enjoyed. Sometimes, but it's very rare.
There's cookies that you can buy. They sell them at Safeway. I don't remember what the brand is, but there's lemon cookies and then there's also chocolate chip cookies. And those are fucking amazing.
I've got some killer gluten-free recipes. They're good.
Yeah,
but they're not
homemade
healthy
ones are
for
pretty
you
good.
because I just take gluten and replace it with oatmeal and butter. So, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
they're no.
My wife makes stuff with like honey and like beans and all kinds of weird things.
Yeah.
But she also bought into that propaganda. But
Is
I don't
that
want-
right?
But I don't want to
That's too bad, though.
roast her on the show.
No,
Well,
of
that's
course.
fair.
Yeah, no, we're not into roasting.
I'll just roast everyone else who thinks this.
That's right.
She already knows what I think. So
Yeah, the gluten-free has been a pretty big fad. Apparently, this is in the UK. They have this data where 12% of people in the UK are doing the gluten-free diet. That seems like super high.
That
That's
seems like a
that's
lot.
high amount.
Why do people want to suffer?
Because
I
people
don't
with celiac disease
understand.
isn't that common.
It's because
They said 1% in the article. 1%.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there's 11% of people who do not
Who
need to be
don't
doing
need
this.
to, yeah.
And I know people who are celiac and they're like, "Ah, fuck it, I'm having a piece of pizza because it's
Oh, yeah,
awesome." And then
that's right.
they have the shits and it's awful for them.
yeah, and
Yeah,
their
it's-
stomach hurts for days.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, it's no good. No good for their
Yeah.
families either. Because, I've got a friend, her husband's celiac, and they only have one bathroom. It's not good. When he decides to cheat, it's not
It's
good.
challenging.
So the interesting thing is that some
Eric, I'm
some
totally
people
shaming him.
who've adopted this gluten-free diet like claim that and again this is anecdotal, but they claim that okay, when I made this change, I felt better because of this.
Oh, definitely.
And I mean, I can't 100% discredit that. Like I can like 90% discredit that. But there's a part of it where it's like I still wonder like, okay, so you're feeling maybe it's placebo, maybe it's whatever, but you're feeling better because of whatever reason. And not saying you were feeling bad at one point for some reason. So what was making you feel that way?
yeah.
Cutting out the gluten isn't necessarily what's making you feel better.
Right.
Like what else happened with that is what I'm saying.
Did you cut out dairy at the same time?
Right. Or
'Cause
That's my
are you
question.
watching your calorie intake much more better?
Yeah.
Are you,
You know-
exercising more? Are you sleeping better?
Yeah.
To play devil's advocate for this story, though, they showed a correlation, right, between type 2 diabetes
Yes, they did.
and gluten-free.
And
but
then
they
the
didn't show
article-
a causal link.
No,
I didn't read
no.
the actual scientific publication,
Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily mean it's causal that avoiding gluten equals more type 2 diabetes. There could be any number of factors that has the tendency of people who tend to avoid gluten tend to also develop type 2 diabetes.
Right, and actually-
so it's not necessarily causal.
The interesting thing that I thought was that the 13% increase in risk for type 2 diabetes was actually within people that had already decided to cut a majority of gluten out of their diet, right? Like it was the difference between the 12 gram intake and the 4 gram intake. It wasn't like regular diet versus 4 gram intake.
I mean, I guess the causal link, like the speculation would be that you take out gluten and you replace it with sugar, right? Because to make food more palatable, there's no gluten in sugar, so you just sort of, so you become a vegetarian and you replace meat with French fries. Well, that's not going to have good health outcomes. Like,
Absolutely.
Although I do love French fries.
What do you mean they're 100% potatoes?
Did you ever try
They're
Coney
so good.
Island? They're really good. The Coney Island Cafe.
I've had hit and
Those are good
miss
fries.
experiences with them. Hit and miss.
They're good
Yeah.
fries.
But
Generally good.
free
The
on
thing
your
that
birthday.
frustrates me about this, like, there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I have an upset stomach when I eat pizza," and then they go on an elimination diet, which you cut out dairy, you cut out the big things that can irritate you. But I mean, now doctors are instead of saying, "Well, you don't like gluten, just go gluten free," and they're challenging people to go on the low FODMAP diet, which is slightly stricter. It's not gluten free, but it cuts out things like legumes and things like that. And then you're supposed to have things like
Fuck lentils.
But they're so good.
pulse crop fans would have issues with that, but it seems like it's a better solution for people that have irritable bowel syndrome and stuff like that because it actually does the job of lowering inflammation
Yeah,
in
for
your
sure.
body. So it's frustrating that I mean, gluten free. It's just the it thing. It's because of what's her face on Survivor, who was Hasselbeck. She's like, "Oh, I'm stuck on a desert island and I'm just eating rice. Maybe I have celiac disease." And she's self-diagnosed. And now she's written how many books? Had she had her celiac serology done? Like, I don't think she did.
I doubt it, yeah.
So it's frustrating.
It's just another fad.
Rant over.
And now there's a correlative study that says it may be harmful.
I think beyond this study, we can just definitively say that most of gluten-free propaganda is full of shit.
Yep.
Yes.
So regardless of this health risk,
Yeah.
you just shouldn't do it anyway.
Just don't waste
Yeah.
your damn time.
Because it's kind of...
Unless you have celiac disease.
Yeah, unless
Right.
there's a real medical reason
In
for
which
you
case,
to go that
by
way.
all means, go gluten-free. We
Yeah.
feel for you.
Go for it.
A medical reason.
And your spouses.
That's right. Listen to your
Yes.
damn doctor.
Yes.
And then they'll tell us, but that's big medical, big
Yeah,
pharma.
that's
Yeah.
right. Eh?
That's what
Yeah,
they
well,
want
you don't want to
think.
talk about profit. I mean, the whole gluten-free industry, there's a whole freaking
Oh, they
grocery
make
aisle
no
in that
shit,
now. All
eh?
their prefab cookies and breads and whatnot.
And that brings up another issue that people who actually have celiacs have found their products increased in price now.
Yep.
But there's
So-
also a tax break for you can join the National Celiac Association, and there is a tax benefit.
Okay.
You can apply for a benefit. It's not. Yeah.
But you have to be an actual celiac.
If you have celiac disease, I don't know if you have to procure an actual
I don't know if
lab
the
result.
Americans get to benefit from something like that, though. So,
But
that's us.
but Canadians do get
do.
to
Okay.
benefit from a
It's
tax
getting
refund.
ridiculous, right? Like every product that always was gluten-free is now being like like Skittles or we're gluten-free. Like, of course you're fucking gluten-free. You're
You're all
100%
sugar.
sugar. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
like cornflakes gluten-free. Like, yeah, you're made of corn.
Gluten-free water.
That jar
Yes.
of gummy bears
Nice.
is gluten free,
and therefore
sweet.
healthy.
Gut rot, here we come.
Yummy.
So good.
gluten-free gut rot.
Yeah.
Alternatively, sugar-free gummy bears are actually a diuretic.
Yes. Don't eat the Haribo one. Oh.
Don't eat as too many.
They're a
of them.
diuretic?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, so is caffeine.
Have you not?
yeah, but
Diuretic means
to a
it makes
much
you,
lesser degree.
diuretic means it makes you have to pee, right? You know that? That's what diuretic means.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, but it's a
Are you talking about-
laxative.
Oh,
That's the
There's
word I'm
some
looking
pretty
for.
funny reviews of Haribo gummy bears online.
That's awesome.
It's like, it's
I'm going to feed my
intense.
kids some of those, see what happens. No, just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, you don't want to if you're going on a road
So
trip.
much better than prune juice.
Yeah. Well, he likes prune juice.
Oh, really?
He'd be good.
That's good. I'd rather give gummy bears than an enema.
Ugh.
yes. Yes, that is an obvious
With a
statement.
bullet.
Yes,
Yes.
you're correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Okay, so we also have. See, this is the problem when people don't show up. I have like 4 stories I have to cover.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
They lose atheist points. This is what happens. They're losing lots of atheist
They're losing
points
their
over there.
skeptic cred.
I'll read something out if you have the tab. If you just hand it over to me and I'll read it for you.
Yeah,
You don't have to-
our sex phone voice girl. Can
phone
you-
sex voice.
That's the one. Not sex
Well, I
phone.
actually did.
Sex
I did
phone.
some notes on this one here.
Okay.
So this is from statesman.com, and it's Texas Medical Board sanctions controversial cancer doctor Stanislaw Burzynski.
I was confused by this one. Yeah.
Yeah, Stanislaw Burzynski is from the Burzynski Clinic in Houston, Texas, and was placed on probation for 5 years and was ordered to pay $60,000 in fines and restitution. He claims to have found a cure for cancer.
Like all cancer?
Yes,
Just generally?
just cancer.
Cancer.
All the
stop.
cancers. All of them.
It's like saying I found a cure for all diseases. All of them? Yes.
Yeah.
Disease. I found the disease cure.
It's called death.
That's right.
Death does tend to
Yeah.
cure a lot of shit, man.
Holy
true.
crap.
So, in front of the Texas Medical Board, he was accused of misleading terminal cancer patients, including a failure to disclose risks associated with the treatment. And we have covered him before. His treatment is called the anti-neoplastins, and it's completely unproven. He somehow avoids getting shut down by the medical board and has avoided this for 40 years by constantly calling it clinical trials and reapplying for clinical trial status.
Wow.
He can't have no like whatever. The NHS isn't going to approve his clinical trial based on nothing. They don't. A real clinical trial is very difficult to get approved. Like the ethics approval, the paperwork, like it ain't easy. I'm thinking that it's being approved by a non-mainstream.
Yeah. Well, thus far, it's continued to be approved, and
by
the
who?
Texas Medical Board
hasn't
shut it down until now.
That's important. I mean, I guess this is an example of what you get when you don't value science in your society.
Yeah,
right. Like
right.
that doesn't surprise me. This is happening in Texas, right? Because well, if evolution is wrong, well, then this guy might have cured cancer. All cancer everywhere. Yes, he did. Yeah, that makes logical sense.
Right. There is. I will link a CSICOP.org article written by Dr. David Gorski that goes into detail about how fucking flawed this whole thing is.
It's fucking flawed. And that's alliteration.
Yeah. And I actually interviewed Rob Blaskowitz a while back about this when Burzynski first went before the Texas Medical Board, but it never made it into our feed.
Oh, okay.
So I actually think I'll add that into our Patreon feed, and then I'll just make it public so that anybody who wants it can go and find it.
Hey, I'm a Patreon. I can listen to it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make it public so that anybody can go listen to it. So
Can't I feel special ever?
You are.
There's other reasons that patrons are special.
Yes. Exactly.
But yeah, this guy, he's a con artist and a quack and has been for
that's so
40
sickening.
years. And he's had patients die over and over, and
if you're treating terminal cancer patients, you're going to have patients die. It doesn't
still
matter.
keeps
but,
getting.
But to string people along and give them false hope is it's pretty reprehensible. It's
Absolutely
awful behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, my cancer doctors, or not but the cancer doctors in my work, they have patients die all the time too.
Yeah.
But that's because they treat terminally ill people. Like everybody, it's a bit of a selection bias. Like unfortunately, it's just sort of,
yes.
Yeah, so
fucking depressing.
I mean, it is nice to see them finally give him some semblance of punishment, but 5 years probation and a $60,000 fine was far from what they were looking for.
Well, didn't his lawyer after this after this ruling say, "Oh, this is great. This is a great win for us because this means he can keep practicing." Like, that's actually got to be a fail then, because like, I mean, if the whole point
it's a
would
win
be
for
to
his
get him to
lawyer.
stop.
Obviously, more people are going to die because of him.
Yeah, that's right. Like this is
well, no, they're not going to die because of him. They're gonna have false hope, which is not okay. They're going to
they're paying money.
It costs money and. Unless he's doing a homeopathic thing where he's giving him water or something, very little has no side effects. So if he gives them something and then there's side effects from it, you're getting side effects with no benefit and risk with no benefit, right?
Yeah.
So that's shitty.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you get oftentimes...
You're never wrong. No, I'm serious. I love you.
I freaking love you too. Don't even get me started.
Oh, I love each other.
But sometimes I'm wrong. However...
Not my podcast.
Oh, I'm totally blushing. But don't you get paid for a clinical trial if you have to, like,
Not this clinical trial. He charges up to $40,000 per patient.
For the patient to go through. I think I wouldn't be surprised, and obviously not in Canada, but in the States, I wouldn't be surprised if people paid more to be on a clinical trial. Like, they pay for what they get. Yeah. No, like, the thing is, like, a hospital will offer it. Like, they'll get on a trial. They'll jump through all the hoops and get all the qualifications and figure out the protocol and all the certifications and the credentialing. And then they say, okay, well, we can offer this clinical trial now. So you do this and you can do on the clinical trial. But I would assume that they would still, like, the patient would still be responsible for paying for any extra incurred cost of a trial over. It's not, I don't think it's free.
No.
I don't.
I guess I just
don't.
assumed.
I think it's different for every trial, but in this case, he pays, or his patients pay him large sum of money.
I would be very surprised if there were any trials where who would be paying for it. No, there are no free rides. In Canada, it would be the province paying for it, and in the U.S. it would be whatever the insurance company or people paying out of pocket for it. Yeah. Just you'd be on the hook for it. Generally speaking, I think that's always true with clinical trial. I don't think. Okay. So charging money for medicine. I mean, medicine is like notoriously expensive, but to be a charlatan claiming to cure all, I mean, that's bullshit. Like, I can just tell you right away, if somebody says they're curing cancer and not curing whatever stage 1A through 3B renal cell carcinoma, which the specific pathology, then you're full of shit. I know you're full of shit.
There was something to focus on a particular type of brain tumor that he was supposed to be.
I did read that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that I read in a separate article that he I think he's claiming that he's cured cancer in general, but this is something that he's treated.
But he's extra cured that.
Yeah, he's extra treated and cured this particular.
And how does he get through the blood-brain barrier?
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm interested.
It's magic.
I might actually. I don't have the background.
These drugs are always hard to get through. There.
It's magic.
He doesn't. Come on. He's whatever.
He hasn't cured fuck all, really. But.
That's really sorry. That's sad. It's really sad. You're preying on seriously vulnerable people.
Yeah.
With. It's just not okay.
I think that's the worst of it too.
It's the worst. I can't even I mean, there's all sorts of shitty things human beings do, whatever, human trafficking and blah 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 blah. But swindling cancer patients, I think has got to be up there. It's got to be really literally. I don't know if a human trafficker or a cancer patient swindler is worse. I think they're probably morally equally in the same realm of hell.
Well, because you're preying on people's vulnerability.
Absolutely,
right?
It's awful.
I think anyone that
disgusting.
seeks to profit off of someone's vulnerability, whether you're a child sex slave or a terminal cancer patient. I mean,
it's shitty.
Yeah.
It's abhorrent.
Yeah.
It really is.
Fucking A, Cotton.
I don't get
That's
the reference.
That's my dodgeball reference.
Okay, let's do a what the fuck.
Okay.
Fucking what the fucking fuck? Who the fuck? Fuck this fucking. How did you do fucking fucks? Fuck!
Well, it certainly illustrates the diversity of the word.
I didn't know you had a microphone in my apartment in the morning. And I'm trying to get my 5-year-old to get ready for school.
Was that impressive? I was thinking about that clip just the other day. Is that after they microwaved the cat?
No, it's from when they hang down from the ceiling and they're spinning around and they just shoot and they kill everybody.
Movie is this?
Yes.
Boondock Saints?
Boondock Saints.
I'm not a cool person. I don't know this movie.
I have it on DVD. Do you want to borrow it?
Yes.
Oh,
yes, you do.
You have to. It's got Billy Connolly in it. You have to. You have to watch it.
Actually, and he's such a badass
I've
in
got
that movie.
so much scandal to catch up on.
And Willem Dafoe, holy shit, when he dresses up as a woman. Oh my God, it's so good.
It really... And
it started the Peacoat Revolution.
When he's in front of the house doing the whole scene and he's like, and they killed...
It's brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's a fucking amazing movie.
It's brilliant.
We should actually do, as a Patreon bonus, we should just watch that movie.
Can we do that?
And break it down, and react to it.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Man.
Sure. I'm here, whatever. I'm devoted to the cause. I'm not like those other fuckers who didn't show up.
That's like a riff track.
Yeah, or like a MST3K, except for...
Yeah, we should do it.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
It'd be
and
awesome.
then you can pick a movie that we watch.
Oh, what movie will I pick? What movie do I like? I'll have to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be Get Hard because that's what I watched yesterday. It was
all
so
right.
funny. I giggled all night.
That sounds sexy.
Well, it's so because they got it because
Right?
Will Ferrell's got to get hard for jail. So Kevin Hart's teaching him how to be
yes.
tough.
Right,
Yeah.
But they totally play on that. Like they go to like a gay brunch spot and they're like, let's go get really hard. Yeah, we're gonna go get hard. That's a good idea. We'll get hard together. Good idea. Like it's oh my god. It's just it's and then he gets out of jail and he's like, I got hard for you every time I almost wasn't hard. Then I just thought of you and I got really hard.
This has been a boner-centric episode.
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
Well, no, we talk about balls too.
Mostly cock and balls,
balls.
folks.
Cock and balls.
Cock and balls.
It's been kind of sexist. We don't talk about any women genitalia.
Lady balls.
The lady balls.
talk about lady
What's the
balls. Be totally good. That was a good. Where's
that ovaries?
train?
Is that what that is?
Where's that
Ovaries,
train
yeah.
sound?
Okay.
We want to talk about microwaves.
We want to talk about overuse.
I'm just not attuned to pushing the buttons.
Yeah, you got
yet.
the buttons in front of you.
I just not
with great power.
We've done it for
Double
over 3 years without the buttons.
Double click the buttons, Corey. There you go. See?
Way to go. Way to go.
Yeah.
Go, Angela.
There, brought in the lady
Told
bits.
you don't make mistakes.
All right.
Fuck no.
So Kellyanne Conway says that your microwave is watching you.
Oh, yeah. So I wasn't sure. Like, I actually kind of gave her the benefit of the doubt when I read the quote, because she said microwaves are. How did she say it exactly? Do you want to read it?
Yeah, I can read the quote here. It says, "What I can say is there are many ways to surveil each other. Now, unfortunately, there was an article this week that talked about how you can surveil someone through their phones, certainly through their television sets, any number of different ways, and microwaves that turn into cameras, etc., etc. Sick."
Okay, so and microwaves that turn into cameras. And so when I read that, I was like, okay. I was really trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. I know that there is some technology where they like send out microwaves and they use it to scatter off of things, and then they take the reflections. So I'm not talking about microwave ovens. I'm talking about the type of photon that is in the wavelength range of microwaves. And they do that. I mean, this is how some of the scanners the naked body scanner at the airport. That's how that they work on microwaves, right? And then
do you think that she just misunderstood?
So I wondered. I just feel like to give. I don't know why I would want to give this woman the benefit of the doubt, but if I really wanted, if I was reaching really hard to her lady balls, I was.
She has lady balls.
She has.
Now
lady
it's
balls.
called lady balls. Now the episode is called lady balls.
So I guess that may, and I think the article you posted actually does refer to like this technology that they're developing. So I really given her level of retardedness that I've seen in the past, like I doubt that's what she meant. But you know what I think it probably is? This is my theory. Okay. I bet you somebody told her about this technology with microwaves and she took it to mean microwave ovens. That is actually
totally
what I
misunderstood.
Yeah. But what's been awesome all week has been like people posting pictures of like a lady taking a picture with a selfie cam, but like at the end of the selfie cam it's like a microwave oven. Like
there was one meme I shared that was like, is your Hot Pocket done, or did your microwave just take a picture of me?
But yeah, they do make it too easy, don't they?
They really do.
But you know, in subsequent interviews, when she's being questioned on this, she still defends herself.
Is that right?
Well,
doubles down.
But that's the Trump administration philosophy, right?
Yeah, it is.
Just can't show weakness.
The same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is called something like in a relationship with somebody. Like that happens like one-on-one all the time. People gaslight each other. Right? This is called gaslighting, where you say, okay, well, what actually happened? I'm going to deny it, and I'm going to focus on
call you crazy.
Call you crazy, right?
Yes.
So and this is just gaslighting on a national,
Trump is in an
international
abusive relationship with everybody.
with everyone,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah,
true.
no, he's
Yeah,
absolutely.
but that's just how he is. Like, there's there's
right, because he's an abusive spouse. He really
is.
just
It's
is.
true.
That's the human he is.
There's
so
a
what do you
reason
want to?
Melania is not living at the White House right now.
He's also an
live there
abusive
either.
father. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
I pick my favorite, and it's because she's hot, and I would have sex with
And
her.
I can't even remember my other daughter's name.
I can't. Yeah. What's the other one?
Oh, God. Yeah, so Kellyanne Conway is less than impressive human being.
You could pick one thing she does
Newsflash.
every 2 weeks for the What the Fuck segment, and it would probably go on for a long time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Well, the
Yeah.
end of the article, because I prepared this week, okay,
Good
dude.
stuff.
At the end of the article, there's a quote from a prominent journalist who says, "We need to stop interviewing Kellyanne Conway. We got to stop giving her a platform.
agreed.
It just
Agreed.
platform. It just no more of this, people. Like, just fucking
really
stop." That's
just
what he
doesn't-
says.
yeah.
I'm paraphrasing here, but that's effectively what he says.
Yeah.
Although, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, didn't the White House say, like, you're not in charge of these interviews anymore? Like, what happened to that?
Yeah, that's true, eh?
Public just can't get enough of her. There's an article in The Atlantic this week. You should check it out about why Trump won't distance himself from Kellyanne Conway, why he won't fire her, never will, because there is a segment that she is like a god, right? Like she is venerated in certain demographics and that are key
Is
to
that
Trump's
right?
support. Yeah. No, it's not everyone. Just like how not everyone thinks Trump's an idiot and sees through all his bullshit. It's the same thing with Kellyanne
Really?
Conway. Yeah. No, there's a whole. You should read. The Atlantic had an article on it this week. It's very
I
good.
might have to read that.
Yeah,
Like,
check it
that
out.
sounds really interesting. I find it hard to imagine people that don't think she's an idiot.
I find it hard to imagine people who don't understand how Trump is an idiot.
That's
like
true.
I can't. Like I just.
Yeah.
I cannot. I actually. It's like I feel like I have to. You know those magic eyes from the '90s where you have to kind of
Yes.
cross your eyes to see the 3D thing pop out at you.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like with Trump. Like if I look at him and I cross my eyes, I'm like, okay, I think I can see if I lived in Minnesota and I worked or I was working in a factory. Now I'm not anymore, and I don't give a fuck about women's rights
And
or
I
blah
hate
blah
all
blah. And
black
I
people.
well, no, but not necessarily even. But like you don't really care about racial issues anyway. Even if
Right.
it's just not. It's not on your.
not
You
on
think
your
that
radar.
you think you're one of these stupid people who say we never had these race problems until Obama was president. Like, a lot of them say that, right? So if you're one of those, and this is your paradigm, this is where you live. You go to church every weekend, and this is your reality. I can kind of cross my eyes and be like. If Trump comes into focus and he turns into 3D, and it actually kind of is a scary thing to do. Actually, I recommend it as an exercise because we got to try to see from other people's perspectives.
That's hard.
But,
I tried
That's
to
a
do that.
perspective I don't think I want to see.
But we
things
gotta
from,
do this is a liberal democracy. We have to try to understand how this shit happened. Sorry, we have to try to understand how this shit happened. How did this shit happen? We have to try to. I mean, people have the right to be humans. They have the right to try to want more out of life and want happiness and want So we have to. I don't know. Not at the obviously I don't think at the expense of others, but I'm really trying hard because I think demonizing these people is not going to help.
Appear to be trying very hard.
Very hard. It's a magic eye. Cross your, and then you can't see it anymore. I'm really trying. I am.
It's hard. It's an interesting thought experiment to put yourselves in a Trump supporter's frame
Well,
of
really,
mind.
in anybody's
fucking hard.
position. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta
But Trump
take,
in particular.
I gotta
Yeah, that
take
one
baby
particular.
steps. Like I gotta
Yeah.
go. Like okay, so somebody disagrees with me here.
Yeah.
Let's try and see it from that perspective. Like I'm a far reach from a Trump supporter at this point, but
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well, I try to do that. I mean, in my daily life, I live, I'm married to a guy who has kids from a previous relationship which adds specific dynamics that forces you to interact with somebody that you don't necessarily, you're not like best friends with. And it provides regular opportunities to put yourself in someone else's shoes,
Right.
put yourself in someone else's, like, okay, from their perspective, what would motivate them to do or say this or make this kind of a decision? And it's hard. It's really hard. And I think but I think in the end, it's easier to do it that way and to consider somebody else's perspective because it helps, it kind of diffuses potential negative feelings you might have, and it helps you make better, more informed decisions, I think, and how you respond to those people too. Big time.
The thing is, like in our world, there's only two ways to change things, right? You can have a conversation, or there's violence and coercion, and that's pretty much it. There's the only way that we're going to make any change is through dialogue or force, right? So I personally prefer dialogue. So let's try to get there. And so I got to try to understand why did pretty much half of that country vote for Trump. Like,
and that conversation,
not quite half,
like
but
you said, yeah,
slightly less than half.
that's for the people who voted. Never mind the people who were too disgusted to vote. But but whatever. I'm just
No, and you're right, and you have to, and when you're having that conversation, you can't just always say you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong,
racist,
you're wrong, you're wrong.
No, you can't.
Just like you can ask questions to understand someone's position better, and say, well, why do you support Trump, or why do you think Kellyanne Conway is the tits? Like, see, I did it
I
again.
knew you were about to say that. That's weird. I said she's going to say the tits, and you did.
Dave's psychic.
She's dirty. She's dirty
I
girl.
never said I had a clean mind.
That was interesting.
But that's
We love that about you.
the conversation. I'm a firm believer in that, and I mean, I enjoy the concept of. I don't just enjoy the concept, but street epistemology is a thing, and I think it's a real effective way to have a conversation with people because you're not necessarily like if you go into a conversation with somebody that you disagree with the intention of changing their mind.
Right.
It's not always it's not necessarily an effective way to go into a conversation. If you go into a conversation asking them to state their position clearly and challenge them maybe by saying, well, what would change your mind? Or what about this? Or what about this? And ask it in a question format, then you're more likely to challenge them to because when you answer a question, you're thinking out loud and you're thinking, well, what would I do in those situations? It's you're flipping the switch a little bit, and I think it's more effective to have a conversation in that way.
But the conversation has to happen in good faith, right? So
Absolutely.
I think it's possible to have such a conversation, for example, with a Trump supporter. I think it's been demonstrated to be impossible to happen with Trump himself or with Kellyanne Conway. These are just people who they're not coming into this conversation in good faith. They're not actually looking to actually discuss things. They're not actually looking to look at facts or make arguments. They're just fully lie about, deny. You can't. That's not an honest conversation. Then that's not somebody. That's why. I mean, there's some people who are. If you come to a conversation with good faith, you can have that dialogue and you can use that. But for example, this is why sometimes police officers have to use force, because not everyone is in an immutable place to discuss and talk through and get past whatever is going on in that moment.
Absolutely.
Right? It's just
some people.
That's
just
why force
aren't up
sometimes
for it.
happens.
Yep.
It seems parallel to the idea that so asking questions that has a much better chance of, say, having a discussion and possibly even changing somebody's mind, even if that's not necessarily your intent. But recently there was a study done where people who were found to change their mind more often changed their mind by hearing a more extreme version of their own perspective rather than hearing the opposing perspective. So that could
comes
come
back to groupthink to me, like that.
Yeah.
Sort of
that could be parallel to the idea that asking somebody to explain themselves can sometimes make them think a little deeper about what they're saying, and
Definitely.
then make them a little more doxastically open, as Peter Boghossian said.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Oh man.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back with your guys' stories.
Okay.
Ow!
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug, or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/Brainstorm Podcast Gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
We are given one life, full of billions of small and large decisions. To be somebody, to change, to be kind, to give hope, to become a better person, and to leave a lasting impact on this planet. It is a decision to be made every single day while your heart is still beating. We've made our decision. Absence of Clothing, atheist and science-based apparel and merchandise, donating 50% of our profits to charity. Look good and feel good, without God. Check us out at absenceofclothing.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest for discount codes and other sweet swag.
Use the code BRAINSTORM at absenceofclothing.com and get 10% off.
We take you now to a conversation being shouted across a hillside.
What? I said I'm trying to come up with a promo for this podcast.
What podcast?
The Geologic Podcast.
What?
The Geologic Podcast.
Oh, Harab's pointless meanderings, skeptical observations, ridiculous musical interludes, and not a hint of geology.
Well,
all right, maybe a little bit of geology, but it's not worth it.
Come on, he's got the religious moron of the week. Geo's mom reads Jay-Z lyrics.
Pointless.
Ask George.
Oh, who cares what the bastard thinks?
Interesting fodder.
Oh, great.
The horoscopes.
Garbage.
Not the Bible.
Boring garbage.
Misinformed science.
Stupid garbage.
True adventures of the Philadelphia Funk Authority.
Ooh, white Ukrainian boy playing drums in a funk band. Must be fascinating.
What, none of that is appealing?
Not even a wee bit.
Great. Don't tune in then.
I won't.
Fine.
Fine.
Great.
Great.
Fine.
Great.
Great.
You said that already.
The Geologic Podcast. Pointless, but free. GeologicPodcast.com.
Pointless but free should be our tagline.
They took our meeting.
Actually, the Geologic Podcast is one of the best ones out there. It's been going for a long time.
Yeah.
See, they're self-deprecating, but it's like ironic. But we're self-deprecating, and it's fucking true.
It's accurate.
It's accurate.
That's not okay.
Or is it precise? No, it's accurate.
It's accurate. It's not precise.
Do we
All
have
right.
Do we have an intro for Lisa's story?
We don't have a politics intro. I gotta work on something.
Just have like
Oh, that was good. That was George.
George W. using
Mayor
all of
Quimby.
his-
We need Mayor Quimby in there.
Yeah, Mayor
please.
Quimby.
Please.
Yeah.
Or George W. Bush using his strategery and
New World Order.
That guy.
Fool me once.
I'm really glad he's not.
Yeah.
That
No,
should
I
be our
am
bumper.
glad.
Actually, I now I've got some ideas for clips.
perfect.
Good.
Yes.
That'll be fun in 6 months when I finally get around to putting it together.
It'll be on next year.
Yep.
So my article is in the Chronicle of Higher Education at chronicle.com. The title is Meet the Math Professor Who's Fighting Gerrymandering with Geometry. So there is a math prof at Tufts University named Moon Dutchin, and she studies metric geometry. She actually, if you read through the article, she actually had done research into something that you'd think was not very practical, but basically describing how compact a given shape is, like quantifying that mathematically, not just saying this is not compact, this is compact, and so, but actually quantifying that this is her area of research, and so now she's organizing effectively like a summer school or a training session for mathematicians to come and learn how to testify in court in the United States as to whether or not a district has been inappropriately gerrymandered or not, meaning whether or not. So I don't know how much our listeners are aware of this issue, but I think I saw a piece on the Daily Show just before Jon Stewart left on Austin, the city of Austin in Texas. So Austin is actually pretty liberal.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, city. However, they have absolutely no Democrat representatives, and the reason for that is because if you look at how Austin is divided, it's sort of like if you imagine Austin was like, I'm a physicist, so imagine a circular Austin. Imagine it was a big circle, okay? And if you look at actually how the districts are cut up, it's like a pie. It's like they go out right from the middle and they make wedges out. So they make these tiny narrow parts in the middle of the city, which is where all the liberal people live, and then they make these big swaths out into the country where the more rural people, more Republican leaning, more conservative people tend to vote, and they slice up the cities that way so that you can't get a critical mass of progressive people voting for even a single Democrat. Right? As an example. Well, this is called gerrymandering, and this happens all over the states, and this is a huge problem. It's been going on for years now down there, but it's of course it's the lawmakers themselves who decide on these boundaries,
yes.
and yeah, so they end up kind of cutting them in a way such that they will win or their favored candidate will win.
I remember hearing that about Austin specifically.
Yeah. So this is what gerrymandering is. But apparently there are some laws that say, you can't cut up a district to be that, in a way that's not compact. Like you can't just, but it's the problem is it's very hard to define what is an inappropriate redistricting. What's compact? What does that mean? But these mathematicians quantify. They actually do know this, and so this woman is running a school basically to train mathematicians on how, like, what the law is, how do you testify, what's the most effective way, and they just in this article they describe there's been many challenges to to how these zones have been redistricted, but they're very rarely succeed in court. Except that this one case where a judge, like, what they did is they looked through like gajillions of cases and they found what the judges tended to like, or because they have these rulings and they say, oh, I liked this argument and like this part, and in the end I say this, right? But based on what the judges liked and didn't like, which they did relative to the law, they were able to say, okay, this is how we can push forward. This is what we look at. This is, yeah. So they're going through and they're making this kind of multidisciplinary approach to train mathematicians to testify in court as to whether or not redistricting boundaries were appropriate or not.
Okay,
that's
cool.
the hope.
So the judicial branch actually, if they decide that a gerrymandering or like a redistricting is,
it has to be brought to court. But yeah.
Is it if they can decide if that's not legal?
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, because there's a rule. You're not allowed to make a district overly uncompact or whatever. I don't even know what the actual.
Do they talk about what compact means in the article?
In mathematical sense or in the legal sense?
Or maybe both.
They don't really talk about it in the mathematical sense. I get the impression that it's because it's hard to understand.
Right. So, you got to kind of be a mathematician.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like they don't really.
Okay. Because it strikes me as something that if there's a definition for the word, then there's some. I mean, and obviously the mathematicians have their definition, and they can say this is not compact.
But that's what they're looking to do in court because they provide that expert opinion. I mean, honestly, common sense tells you if you look, at the districting in Austin, for example, or wherever, that it makes zero sense. I mean, we have the same issue in Canada where they'll change the boundaries on ridings, and politicians will do that on purpose to. But we don't. It's not. It's like a really bad problem in the States.
Yeah.
And this is where you get these things like a president who wins the electoral college but not the popular vote. Part of that is because of how. I mean, actually, that's actually not the case because they go by state, but that's just how like Congress people will get elected that way, and they'll So. Yep. So it was just interesting, like fighting political. I don't know what you'd call that. Like
bullshit.
Gerrymandering is, fighting inappropriate use of power with math. I love it. Not even science, but math, more pure and even better. Like I'm just like you go. I think it's awesome. So.
The only way to fight cheating is with math, right?
Well, I don't know. It does make sense, it's really cool. And then in the article they talk about how they have they've had a huge response from people who wanting to take this training to participate in this. So I think a lot of people are looking on ways that they can contribute and get involved. After what happened in November of last year.
I wonder if there's more mathematicians or Democrats, or if more mathematicians?
Probably almost certain Democrats, right? Because most, like in academia, academics tend to skew left.
I suppose,
big time.
Yeah.
I knew a very cocky astrophysicist back in the university days who would say, "Why don't know?" His argument with somebody and he was Dutch, so I can't even do his weird Dutch accent. But how come the regular people, the plebs or whatever, how come they can't just understand that the smartest among them, the academics, are all leaning left? Why don't they just vote left, just thinking, well, if they think left is best, then we should too. Like, and he was so cocky, and he was like the definition of the ivory tower sort of thing. So
I would actually like to talk to somebody because there's.
Oh, he's funny. He was
over
a funny
the years.
Guy. You would like him.
People like that, like the academics have been painted as the elites, right? Therefore, the enemy, right? Mm-hmm. So it's
you see it sometimes in that sort of. I mean, Dawkins makes a similar argument in The God Delusion. He talks about how all the smart people I know are atheists, and how like people point to scientists who are not atheists and who are religious. He's like, but those people are normally not the best of the best. Like if you look at the fellows of the Royal the Royal Society in Britain, which is the kind of like the cream of the scientific crop, most of them are atheists. That's the argument he makes anyway. So and I don't know. I honestly I feel like it does kind of skew me. Like I'm just like I don't like for example I don't know I really literally I cannot find a single smart person, a person I respect, who supports Donald Trump. Like to me, like that's, and it's anecdotal, but like it's got to be a huge nail in his coffin for me anyways. Cause I listen to podcasts, read articles from a huge variety of different points of view and thoughts.
Yeah.
But I can't find a single person whose opinion I respect who supports Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So that's telling, I think.
I think that's fair. I work in the oil industry, and there's a large number of Trump supporters in that. But
do you have anyone in there who you really respect intellectually who supports Trump?
While I may respect some of their opinions about work-related things,
sure.
Outside of work, I would not associate.
That's
with
what I'm
people,
saying.
So
I haven't found. I would love to if somebody could find one for me that somebody who makes a decent argument for Trump, like a reasoned argument. But I have yet to see it. I've seen a few articles that claim that they're going to do this, and you read it and you're like, no, this sucks.
That's a good challenge.
I can't find a thing. I can't find a goddamn thing.
One of the most popular Trump supporters that podcasters have on is Robert M. Price.
Okay.
And he's an atheist and he's a mythicist. And
what's a mythicist?
Somebody who believes Jesus was a myth.
Okay.
And
not an actual human being.
Yeah, not an actual person.
How would you ever prove that? That's like the most. Anyways, whatever.
Listen to Richard Carrier's episode. It's interesting.
Yeah, there's some historical arguments both ways, but Robert Price is the one that often comes out as the Trump supporting atheist.
Because to me, just because someone's an atheist doesn't mean they're smart either.
No,
so I don't like. I'd have to like agree with him on a bunch of stuff and be like, oh, okay, I respect him intellectually, and then hear his Trump argument, and then I don't really see. The only way I could see you going with Trump is if you ignore all the shit. Like you have to ignore the misogyny, and you have to ignore the narcissism. Otherwise, you can't get there.
The interesting thing is that he simply doesn't believe that shit is real. So
this guy's an idiot. Like, I'm sorry, I can't. This is not.
Yeah. This is disputing the actual stuff happened, and then he's saying that stuff.
Yeah, all those things he says, he's not actually saying.
That's about where it goes.
This is reducing my respect of dude more than Trump.
And I think that a lot of people, that's a common thing.
Oh yeah.
That's a common reason that people support
we have no
him.
reason to think that he doesn't mean what he said. Like he seems to, Trump has this like this stream of consciousness way of talking. This whatever pops into his silly little brain, he just says, and he has no filter, which is honestly a sign of retarded, like of dumbness on his part, not like
lack of intelligence.
Because he has no filter, and then and he's self-contradictory. He'll say one thing, and then by the end of the speech, he'll say something completely different. And to him, it's not self-contradictory because it's all fine in his brain, and it's just a spew of consciousness. And I have no reason to think that that's not real. Like I don't know what reason anyone could. Anyway, whatever.
I think a lot of people too who would support him with a quote unquote smart argument might say something like, "Well, we get that he's all these things, but we don't think it's enough to think he can't govern." You know what I mean? Like it's like, well, he's a misogynist,
but he's like a moron.
Blah, blah.
Like even if you don't care about women, even if you don't care about minorities, or
and that's what I think. That's what I think.
And even if you look at his business
he's a literal idiot.
There's a number
He's
of
not
points.
been a successful business person. He screws over contractors. Like, how is this a good person?
He's been successful in the sense that he's like still rich and famous and stuff.
I was listening to an interview with
lost all his money.
What's his name? David Frum. I was listening to an interview with David Frum, and he said, I will give Trump this. He's a shit business person. He's actually not good at making deals. He takes risks, and he's actually not very good at choosing things that are going to pan out in the end. But he is very good at getting into hot water and then getting himself out of it. Exactly. That is his biggest skill. Like, great. Like, is that really if that's the best you can say for the leader of your country, that's, again, bar is very low. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I digressed onto the Trump.
The one thing I wanted to say about your story, really Lisa, I love the combination of like math and politics. I love that crossover. I love that combination of, academics bringing their knowledge to lay people.
Yeah.
That's something that really excites me.
And I like that they're interested in it. There's a lot, in the past, honestly, like I've known many scientists who say like, I don't I'm apolitical. I don't get involved in politics. I evidence based, and I do my thing, and I don't care about this stuff. But I think it's changing, and we saw this in Canada as well, like with the Harper government and their war on science. We saw scientists come out and protest, and I mean, this is not stuff we'd seen in the past. Scientists really do tend to stay. They try to be like, they're the Switzerland of. They try to say that they try to stay neutral.
Absolutely.
But you're seeing people have interest enough because they're disturbed enough by what they're seeing. So I think it's great.
And I like that there's that crossover that it can improve on those things, and it's a cool thing for sure.
If you can if you can handle talking to a mathematician, it's good.
Let's move on to religious nuttery.
Let's do it.
Oh, are you serious?
No,
he's not ready. He's not queued up.
Just kidding. Just kidding. We're not doing religious nuttery.
Cornerstone, this might be new to some of you. Scripture says that even our righteous deeds are as filthy rags to God. So even the good things that you do, even things like feeding the hungry and clothing the poor and taking in widows and orphans, as nice as those things are, if not done from the place of obedience to and a relationship with God, are completely worthless and disgusting to God. If you're not daily walking in a place of relationship to God, then the news that we have to bring you is that you're on your way to hell right now.
The good news is that guy's not going to be in hell according to him, so at least you have to spend eternity with him.
Yeah, no shit, eh?
Yeah, he's making hell more attractive.
Yeah.
Send me there. So there's a blogger that is going on trial in Russia for playing Pokemon Go in church.
Okay. And how does that work?
Well, he's accused of inciting religious hatred because, he he played Pokemon Go in church. And he's charged with the same offense that the women from Pussy Riot were charged with.
Oh.
They spent 2 years in jail.
Yep.
And apparently he posted a video on his blog last year showing him playing the smartphone game in a church built on the supposed spot where the family of the last Russian Tsar Nicholas II was killed.
I see.
So
it's a significant church.
Because of that video, because of that church. Yeah, that was a ballsy thing that he did to play Pokemon Go in that church and post a video of it.
Why don't they just charge the Pokemon Go creators? It was their fault for taking them.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't
They're
have
not
to
in
have
Russia.
a Pokestop.
He wanted to take over that sweet gym.
Yeah, it was probably pretty sweet.
Yeah, there's probably it was like a level 10 gym.
That's right, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's probably something there.
Yeah.
A lure on a friggin' thing or whatever.
I found myself in way more churches last summer than any other summer.
They do that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
It's an intentional thing.
It's a landmark.
Public spaces.
Yeah.
You want your things and your stuff.
Come on over.
Come in.
And there were certain churches who, were, you're right, evangelizing through that.
They were doing that intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were okay with it.
I think me and my family were more annoying to the Catholic Church than anything.
Wear your atheist shirt right outside.
That's right.
That's brilliant.
I need a shirt that says "Fuck your God." That's what I need.
Yeah. Something that's really, really controversial.
Yeah, something really offensive.
Just don't go to Russia.
No, don't.
That's right.
Good God, it's crazy. It just boggles my mind, but it also doesn't.
It's amazing to me how Russians, do they recognize that they're not living in a democracy anymore? Like,
they don't.
Yeah, that's my understanding, and I just find it's just, this is the antithesis of liberalism, right?
Absolutely.
It's just,
have you watched John Oliver recently?
Yeah, I saw the one on Putin. Yeah,
and like just the propaganda, just the buying into it, like it's just unbelievable.
Buy-in. It's amazing. It's actually politically, Putin's pretty impressive in terms of like what he's able to pull over on the.
This is why Trump admires him so much.
Yeah, that's right. Eh?
No, I think Trump admires him so much because Putin has something on him. That's
because he doesn't want the PP video.
The P video.
I'm just kidding.
There's got to be something worse than that.
There's
There's got to be
I didn't. Anyways, sorry.
There's got to be something worse than that. Honestly, like
well, there's money involved too, right?
Well,
he's got financial interest.
Yeah,
in
that's right.
Because the dollar, the almighty dollar, I think is what Trump values the most, besides himself.
It's interesting because everybody for a while thought, I mean, we're back on Trump all of a sudden.
Fuck. Sorry.
But everybody thought that Trump was so noble in not taking a salary as president.
Oh, yeah.
I never thought that.
Meanwhile, he's taken golf vacations every weekend, and he's
X number of millions of dollars, and his kids going everywhere with their protection. And how many millions? Is it $1 million a day for Melania to
live in Trump Tower?
Like, yeah. But with respect to, I mean, okay, technically we don't know. He hasn't released his tax return. We don't know what Russia has on him. I've heard it said that there's. Yeah. There are unknown facts with respect to Trump, but there are no mysteries in that we know that there's some shit going on there. Like it's clear. Like the details are unknown, but nothing will surprise if the details were known. There's no mystery.
He's not fooling anyone.
Once we know the facts, we won't be any more informed. We'll be just confirmed what we already thought.
And I won't think he's any more corrupt. I'm just like, I know you're corrupt. Like I know you are. Like I don't.
He's proven it time and time again.
I've been saying for quite a while that Putin is the Bond villain of the world right now. And I still have to defend that statement again to people that I talk to in my daily life.
Even visually.
Even visually, yeah.
Visually with like his like he's just a character and he's like an action hero.
Absolutely.
Like the bareback on horse.
That was the image I had in my head too. It was
can't get it out.
Nope.
It's in there now.
It's burned into my.
You know who did another really good analysis? Samantha Bee went to Russia and talked to, particularly about journalists and journalists have been killed.
Right.
There. Like
that's right.
But like the lack of what you can say on Russian TV
and
how it's
a little while ago now.
It was a while ago, but it was great.
Journalist.
She was great.
That was really, really impressive.
It was amazing.
Okay.
It was really cool.
All right. So I guess we're running out of time. Let's do listener feedback.
Yeah.
So Patreon. We ended up a little short on Patreon the last couple weeks.
Oh, no.
What happened?
We gained one patron in our friend Marissa McCool, who was our guest.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
But
was such a fun interview.
We also lost a patron. And another patron went from $5 to $2, which is, I mean, that's...
It happens.
Still appreciate it.
These things happen. I still appreciate any contribution.
Absolutely.
It's for our financial basis that has been a loss of over the last 2 weeks.
Oh, no.
But hopefully that will change. If you want to support the show, then check out our website and click on one of the support links or go to the patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. There are lots of different levels of patrons, and you can have access to over 40 patron-only posts, including exclusive content from the break between live shows and monthly content for $5 patrons and up. iTunes reviews. We got another one.
Sweet.
From Willie911.
Oh. Okay.
It was only a 4-star review, though, not a 5.
That's still pretty good.
It's pretty good.
80%.
And he said, hosts have a habit of interrupting and talking over each other.
What?
And guests.
What are you talking about?
But overall, the intelligence and knowledge base behind them really shows through. Having such diverse backgrounds in both education and life experience really adds to the discussion. I'm happy that a Canadian podcast is off to such a promising start. Well done. Keep up the good work, but never stop trying to improve. So
that's good.
Constructive.
No, that's really good.
Criticism.
That's
I like
good. That's a
that.
good review.
That was a really good review.
That was helpful.
Thanks, Willie911.
We want to read. That was a good one. It wasn't just like all the praise.
No.
If we didn't deserve it.
It was realistic. Thank you.
And honestly, we knew we were fucking assholes interrupting each other all the
Totally.
time. And our guests, we're the worst with guests too. I'm bad.
The higher the seat count, the more that happens, though.
Yeah. Naturally,
it's just hard.
Yeah, it's tough.
And if Gumby's here.
That guy's just
We love you, Gumby.
We totally fucking love you, Gumby.
We want to read
Fucking
your
hate
reviews on the show. So make sure to rate the show and let us know which store you rated us in. We got no emails this week. 3 minutes. Okay. If you want to send us comments, criticism, praise, or accolades, then send us an email at mail@brainstormblog.net or go to our website contact page. Appearances. I was on the Secular Yakking and Left at the Valley, and those both are out. Me, Gumby, Renee, and Leo and Dave, we're all on the Skeptics Brew Pub. That's out on YouTube and as a podcast. And I'm going to be on the Utah Outcasts on March 18th. And I'm in the process of talking to Uber 47 about getting us all as a group on the Secular Barbershop.
Nice.
Wicked.
So, let's see. Geez, 3 minutes. I don't know. I got plug your stuff. Does anybody who's here have more new projects or anything? Dave?
Oh, there was one.
Angela?
I'm not cool. I don't have anything.
You don't have anything?
Check out Sirocco Winds of Resistance, new documentary exposing Potash Corp's relationship to the Moroccan occupation of the Western Sahara.
There you go.
There, that's it.
Cool.
Nice.
Are you involved with that, Dave?
Yeah, I was the audio person for that.
Oh, great.
Cool.
That's really cool.
Very cool. You're all smart and shit. I got a new sweater project.
It's gorgeous.
I'm literally knitting a sweater right now.
It's a thing of beauty.
Thank you.
What are you working on, Angela?
I got fucking nothing. I'm just doing the same.
Okay. Well, I'm working on a new project I'm calling The Hardcore Skeptic Examines, where I do a deep dive on specific topics, including research and interviews. And I'm going to edit it together into a long type of documentary type podcast.
2 minutes. Yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to see that come to fruition.
Destin and I are also starting a new project called the Positively Skeptical Podcast, which is about learning and examining things in that way instead of just making fun of shit.
Okay.
All right, let's hit that outro music before we run out of time. And that's the end of the episode. Thanks for listening. Check out the show notes on our website, brainstormblog.net. I'm a bit behind, but I'm slowly working at getting things caught up. You can get tons of patron-exclusive content by becoming a patron. We do bonus content after every show. I do personal thoughts and content in between live episodes, and I'm working on more exclusive content for people who are $5 patrons. You can join our patrons Will, Lisa, Rob, Aaron, Nathan, Daryl, Marissa, Brother Brewer, Janet, and Stephanie, and the newly renamed Positively Skeptical Podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. Make sure to join us every second week when we broadcast live on Spreaker.com/users/brainstormpodcast. Our next guests are the science enthusiasts, Natalie and Dan. You can check their stuff out at scienceenthusiastpodcast.com. Thanks to the crew from the Wayward Atheists for joining us tonight. You can find their stuff at Spreaker.com/users/waywardatheists. Thanks to Dave for our intro music. Thanks to Alex Capper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover and for the intro and for some of our ads. And thanks to Jason Cabot for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. Make sure to check out his newest album, Some Version. Sorry, folks, we ran out of time there. Just to finish the outro, make sure to check out Jason's newest album, Some Version of the Meaning of Life. All music is played either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info on our website, brainstormblog.net. You can get cool Brainstorm gear at cafepress.ca/brainstormpodcastgear. Thanks again for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interaction sometimes with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel, any guests, or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.
I was going to open with a comment about how much Renee should like that last song because it's about Star Wars versus Star Trek.
Ooh.
But when I saw both of you with your ear headphones on your cheeks instead of on your ears, I was thinking, I wonder if they're not metalheads.
It was just too loud. Like, I was actually just thinking, like, why don't you ever choose like a different style of music? I'm just saying you could. One could choose such a thing.
He has.
Has he?
Yeah.
He has sometimes. Yeah.
Okay.
Even surprising me, like initially when I came into this.
Like, what do you want to hear, Angela? What would you choose?
I have. Well, there was.
I played Big Wreck once.
You played Flight of the Conchords.
Oh yeah, I played Flight of the Conchords,
and he played Big Wreck, even though like they don't like Big Wreck.
Oh. I like Big Wreck. Big Wreck's nice.
I want like, what do I want? I don't know. You know what? I've been listening to Young Ma a little bit there.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
I love
Put some
that.
hip hop on there. I like.
Yeah.
Or I love Nicki Minaj too. Put her on.
I actually have there's a local hip hop artist who just wrote an interesting song about their struggles with like feeling unheard by prayer and God and all this stuff. It was actually really interesting. A guy that I work with, and I actually was quite moved by the song because he was like saying, you know, some line about like what kind of plan is this you have for me? Like my dad's fucking this, my mom's this, you know, this person's getting murdered and blah blah. And
that so it does sound interesting.
It was really interesting, yeah. Like, you know, because he's been told by a lot of Christians that he needs to feel and be a certain way.
Right.
But it's like, it doesn't apply to his hood context.
Does he rap like Ja Rule style? Like, does he murder like all the time? Murder.
No, he's a little more like a Big Sean or Drake or something.
Okay.
But anyway.
All right.